All right. Welcome to all, and thank you for coming to the Counselor at Large Candidate Forum this evening. My name is Jeff Swartz, Executive Director of the Salem Chamber of Commerce and Civics. And the Salem Chamber has a history of being involved in local civics as we originated in 1912 through a merger of the Salem Merchants Association and the Salem Civics Association. A little bit of trivia there that most folks don't know. I do want to thank the Latino Leadership Coalition, the League of Women Voters Salem, and the Fred Berry Institute of Politics at Salem State University for being our partners in organizing this evening. And we're extremely proud to present, all of us to present this forum tonight. I do also want to thank a few of our elected officials who are in the room tonight. We have District Attorney Paul Tucker, Ward 3 Councilor Patty Morcillo, Ward 5 Councilor Jeff Cohen, State Committee Woman Julie Curtis, School Committee Member Beth Ann Cornell, and Ward 6 Councilor Meg Stott. And Ward 1 Councilor Cindy Jerslow. Apologies, Cindy, for missing you back there. Thank you so much for being here. So the proceedings this evening will be moderated by David Olson, the former editor-in-chief of the Salem News and a very trusted moderator of many forums and debates across the North Shore. We also want to thank Salem Access Television. They're broadcasting this event live on Salem Access TV's Government Access Channel 22, as well as SATV's Government YouTube channel, and that will be provided live as well as a recording on those channels after the fact. We're also extremely grateful for Haiti Benoit and Dalen Morales for providing live Spanish translation service this evening. This is the first time that we've done that, and the cost to provide this service tonight was generously donated by an anonymous local resident, and we wanted to share a message on their behalf. We not only have the privilege and the right to vote, we have an obligation to participate in our democratic processes so that all voices are heard and counted, not just the few. We are fortunate to live in a wonderfully diverse community in Salem that welcomes all. With the vast technological strides, language access should always be available to all groups and all persons of our community because equity and inclusion are our values. I truly applaud the Salem Chamber of Commerce, League of Women Voters Salem, Latino Leadership Coalition, and Salem State University's Fred Berry Institute of Politics for understanding this important tenet and for their outreach to ensure everyone has an opportunity to participate. Thank you again to our anonymous donor. Lastly, and one thing to add on that, the Spanish translation will also be recorded tonight and posted on YouTube so that everybody will be able to hear our candidates' comments this evening. And lastly, I want to extend a heartfelt thank you to the Hawthorne Hotel and their staff for hosting us this evening. This hotel was built in 1925. This hotel was built in 1925 as a social and civic space for the city of Salem, and it continues that role this evening 100 years later. I also want to welcome our candidates, their supporters, and all residents and voters in attendance here and tuning in from afar. We are looking forward to a positive and informative forum. And with that, I introduce Dave Olson, tonight's forum moderator. Thanks so much, Dave.
Okay, hello everybody. The four partnering organizations have collected questions from their constituents, partners, and the general public. And the order of questions has been pre-selected by those organizers to facilitate the live translation service. And we ask that everybody silence your cell phones and hold your applause until the forum's over. That makes it much easier for them to translate accurately and quickly. We're going to begin the forum with 90-second candidate opening statements followed by questions. The final question has been shared in advance with the candidates, and that is going to serve as a closing statement. The order for opening statements was determined by drawing lots just a few minutes ago. And I will be the one asking all the questions. And since this is a forum and not a debate, there won't be rebuttals. And time limits will be enforced by the moderator, by the timekeepers down here. You'll get a 30-second warning, and then a 10-second warning, and then we'll move on. So we're going to start with opening remarks, and we drew from a bowl, and we start with Alice Merkel. Welcome, Alice.
Thank you. Can you all hear me okay? Yeah. Great, thank you. And welcome everyone. And thank you to the Salem Chamber, the Salem League of Women Voters, the Latino Leadership Coalition, and the Frederick Berry Institute of Politics at Salem State for hosting this event tonight. thank you for having the Spanish translation. That is awesome. Thank you for the Hawthorne Hotel for hosting us. And thanks to all of you for being here tonight. My name is Alice Merkel, and I've had the pleasure of being your city councilor at large for close to 4 years now. And I'm running for re-election because what we rely on the most happens at the local level of government. And during these distressful times, we need a local government that leads with courage and compassion, and a government that strengthens the resiliency of our city. My longtime volunteer work with the Salem Pantry, the Salem Education Foundation, and the Council on Aging allows me to continue to bring an in-touch, informed voice to the council. And most importantly, I've enjoyed assisting all our residents. I've enjoyed advocating for the safety and well-being of our older adults, our veterans, our LGBTQIA+ communities, and our immigrant and underserved community members. And I respectfully ask for your vote on November 4th. Thank you.
Thank you. Again, if we can hold the applause to the end, that would be great. Sorry, Conrad. Conrad Kwasniewski.
Thank you, David. Thank you to all who helped put this together tonight. I know Alice mentioned all of them, and I would like to also applaud everybody who came here tonight to listen to the candidates and for your attentiveness to the issues that we have at hand. My name is Conrad Kwasniewski, and I was born and raised and educated in Salem, and I have been proudly serving this community for nearly 47 years. Even as a police officer for 41 years, and now for the past 6 years as your counselor at large. As a first-generation American whose parents emigrated after World War II, they worked hard in factories to build a better life for our family. Their dreams became our dreams, and Salem has always been at the heart of that story. Throughout my years of service, I have been exposed to a great deal of challenges our city has faced. I have worked hard to help organize and implement effective strategies and initiatives to address many of them. Salem is now a progressive and forward-thinking city with an incredibly bright future. But to sustain our success, we must continue to work together to keep our community unique, diverse, inclusive, sustainable, and affordable. I remain fully committed to improving the quality of life for everyone who calls Salem home. This is why I am running again for re-election, to continue helping making this city, our city, a safer, stronger, and even more wonderful place to live. Thank you.
Thank you. Ty Hapworth. And if I've been asked if you can all hold the mic a little bit closer to your mouths when you speak.
Hi. I also want to second Alice's thank you to everybody who put this event on tonight. But also want to thank all of you for coming out here tonight. We have, when I look around, I see so many people that are extremely involved in this community, so many people who are currently candidates for office, people who are volunteering on local boards. And you all apparently live within walking distance of this place, or you're really, really good at finding parking spaces, because I know this is not an easy time to find parking downtown. My name is Ty Hapworth. I'm an Army veteran, I'm a father, I'm a husband. For the last 6 years, I've been one of your counselors at large here in Salem. I've had the honor of serving on the city council, being the city council president, being a committee chair. But mostly I'm proud of the work that we've done as a group together on the city council. This is at a time when national politics has been divisive and not productive. We don't have that luxury here in Salem. The problems are on our doorstep. The problems are right outside of our front door. We can see them. We have to deal with them. And I'm proud of the work that all 5 of us on this council have done, working together to solve these problems and to come together on solutions. They're often not easy solutions. That's local government for you. But I've been proud of the work that we've done, and thank you all for coming out here tonight.
Thank you. John Harvey.
Thank you. I'd also like to thank everybody that put this event together. Obviously, you just heard him. My name is John Harvey. Salem resident, 27 years now. Became Ward 4 councilor 2 years ago. Now I'm running at large to basically be able to be the voice for more than just the ward, for the whole city. I raised my 5 sons, and I also have 3 stepsons, all here in Salem, all went through Salem Public Schools, and I'm a union electrician, and I like Salem because, well, when we first moved to Salem, Salem was a community, it wasn't a city. Even though it's called a city, Everybody knows everybody. My kids couldn't go downtown without me knowing about it, without me finding out about what they were doing. And I like the closeness of the city, and I'd like to try to help keep it that way so that the next generation coming up, and my kids and my grandchildren, feel the same way I did. So that's why I'm running. And I appreciate everybody again for coming out tonight, and thank you very much.
Thank you. Kyle Davis.
Hello, Salem. Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much for having us here tonight and for coming out. I have been so incredibly honored to be one of your at-large counselors over the past 2 years. 2 years ago, and I can't believe it's been 2 years, I partly ran to provide representation a few different ways. I wanted to be a renter on a council in a city of half renters that understands the housing affordability crisis, not just from the perspective of an advocate, but someone with lived experience. I'm a waiter. I bring a working class perspective. I'm a waiter right here at a restaurant in Salem. As a waiter and an Uber driver, I've been the victim of wage theft, misclassification, unsafe working conditions, you name it. I was under 30, now that's no longer the case, but I am still a member of the LGBTQ plus community. It has been really rewarding to be able to work on issues like the housing affordability crisis, the climate crisis, workers' rights, and so much more. I have a profound appreciation now for smaller issues, or what I used to call smaller issues that I now see, affect residents every day. And we've had to really step up on the council on bigger issues and be the last line of defense for our marginalized communities under the threat of the federal administration. So it would be an honor to be able to continue this work. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Now we'll get to our questions, and we start with you again, Kyle. Local and state laws prevent police departments and sheriff's offices from being forced to commit resources to federal initiatives and operations. They can do so willingly. What do you believe should be the police department's role regarding federal immigration enforcement?
I think we are incredibly privileged to have a relatively really progressive police force. The conversations we've had with Chief Miller, he shows an incredible amount of just intelligence and compassion when it comes to this issue. I was able to, again, under the threat of the federal administration, organize Know Your Rights trainings here. I live in the Point. I care deeply about my neighbors. And Chief Miller was invited to these presentations. And what he talked about was it's actually the best way to do policing. When someone is the victim of a crime or wants to confess to a crime, we want to make sure that they are not thinking about their documentation status, that they can be helpful to our police force. So it's good policing, and I think we as a city have been doing what we need to on this issue. I was really proud to see us put out information on our website to push out that information so that immigrants do know their rights, what they do, what they don't have to do when dealing with ICE officials, police officers, deportation officials. So I think we're doing a great job on that front, and I'm proud that we have the status and kind of policies that we do.
Ty.
And I happen to think that what's happening at a federal level is embarrassing and disgusting, to be frank. But locally, regardless of what you think about what's happening on the national level, we want people to feel safe when they live in Salem. We want people to feel safe to call the police. If you've been the victim of a crime, no matter what your immigration status is, you're a member of this community and you should feel comfortable calling the Salem police. And that was what the sanctuary, if we remember way back to 2017, 2016, whenever that was what the Sanctuary for City Peace Ordinance was a renewal of that commitment that we had to this community. This is our Salem Police is not immigration enforcement. They don't want to be immigration enforcement. That's been pretty consistent for many, many years in Salem. And I think that our role as a city council is just making sure that folks in the immigrant community understand what that is and what that role is and what our Salem Police Department does. Because again, if you've been the victim of a crime here in Salem or you feel unsafe, you should feel comfortable calling Salem PD. And I'm proud to live in a city that prioritizes that.
I agree with, we were always talking about Salem as a place for everyone. And depending on, it shouldn't matter what your immigration status is. As far as our local police helping the federal government, to come into our community and disrupt families and stuff, the way they have been doing it all over the country, in my opinion, it's wrong. There's got to be a better way. And that's why the people of Salem, we open the doors to Salem to everybody. It's not just, who you are, it's what you do. And a lot of people get involved in the community. So in my opinion, I disagree with the way the federal government's handling it. And I do agree with the way the Salem PD allows anybody and everybody to make that phone call if they feel threatened for any reason, whether it be a minor or even a major or a minor issue. So that's my stance on that.
Thank you. Alice?
Yes, thank you. Such an important question. It is a frightening time for our immigrant communities. It truly is, and I agree with what my colleagues have said. I also appreciate our police chief that he has shown such support for our immigrant community, showing up at community meetings. I remember attending a Point Neighborhood Association meeting with a Know Your Rights training, and the police chief was there to answer questions and to ensure our immigrant community that they won't be asked their immigration status when engaging with our Salem police. And I've also heard him speak many times, focused on adding and increasing diversity on our police force, and also, the importance of addressing language barriers. So I do appreciate the work that the city's done and our police department has done. It's incredibly important that our immigrant community feels comfortable and safe going about their day-to-day lives. And I feel that we, as a city, not only the police, but city government, we need to keep up on these laws, and we need to pass ordinances and take any action we can to ensure the safety of our immigrant community members.
Thank you. I like this question because it speaks a lot to my background, having spent 40 years in the police department, helping protect the residents and citizens of Salem. This issue has come up and has caused a lot of divisiveness about exactly what do police officers do, where are we headed? Is this a replica of what happened in the late 30s or early 30s over in Europe? Which direction are we headed in? Well, first of all, just to give you a little background, the federal government has its laws and the state has its own laws. The local police department does not enforce federal law, which means anything to do with immigration has nothing to do with the Salem Police Department's business. When we encounter someone on the street that needs help, never is it asked at any time during any of the process, are you a citizen of the United States? That's not our business. Our business is to protect everyone equally, and not because we are not federal agents. The federal agents can come into our community, we can't stop that. Do we assist them? We only assist them for safety reasons, in case that there may be a problem. And that isn't assisting the federal agents, that's assisting the people in the community also who may be part and parcel to the federal investigation. We're there to make sure that our citizens are protected. Coming from immigrant parents, I get it, I understand the need. So just to give you a little information, thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, question number 2, and we start with Ty. I think I've done about 20 of these debates, and I think I've asked this question 20 times. Parking is at a premium in downtown Salem, and we have an aging Museum Place garage that is nearing the end of its useful lifespan. What solutions will you work toward to address parking access in Salem?
I thought all parking questions would go to Conrad Krasnowski first, but no, yeah, absolutely. Parking has come up every single time, and I think it's important to start off with I guess the uncomfortable fact that there has never been a community that's been worth visiting that didn't have a parking problem. Salem is a community worth visiting. It's a vibrant downtown. It has a parking problem. That doesn't make it any less frustrating. The issues that we run into, we have a aging Museum Place garage right now, and a mall below it that is not meeting a standard that the rest of us would like to see. So I think this is an opportunity with the Church Street lot probably to do something different in that location there in partnership with the owners of that current mall. At a larger level, I think that having parking abundant in the middle of the downtown probably isn't the best use of that space downtown. I think having an active shuttle system, having garages around the perimeter of the city as we need them, I think is important probably. But we continue to see, we have to ensure that folks feel safe and comfortable walking around downtown Salem and finding other ways to get around. If you need a car, that's fine to get around. But if you have other ways that you can get around and feel safe, that's important. That's some of the work that I've been proud of over the last few years, is making the city safer for pedestrians, safer for cyclists, safer for people getting around like Alice Merkel does on a scooter. We should feel safe getting around in any way that we are in Salem so that we can take cars off the road. And I think that's the most important thing.
John.
As everybody knows, parking's horrible in the city, but I mean, if you really look at what's going on in the city, in my opinion, we need to stop taking parking spots away. We're narrowing streets, we're removing parking, we're removing street parking. It's not helping the parking situation. And, you know, I agree that the garage that we do have is definitely in disrepair, and, you know, it's something that needs to be done. I kind of, you know, agree with my colleague as far as, you know, the Church Street lot. Maybe think about doing something there and, you know, removing the old one and possibly doing something there. But again, we can't keep taking spots away. And, you know, you look, and I love the outdoor dining, but, you know, look at how many parking spots in October that we're losing because of, you know, they're taking up parking spots on the street. Now, past couple of years, we've been telling people, don't drive to Salem, take the T. I agree, you know, because parking is at a minimum, and, you know, it's tough because as you can see, year after year, we're getting more and more visitors. And, you know, it's something, I just say, you know, we need to stop taking spots away and think about how to expand.
Thank you. Alice.
Thank you. How's that? That sounds better.
Would you like me to?
Right. I was just going to say, maybe you repeat the question
Sure.
just to get us.
And you'll get all your 90 seconds. So.
Oh, great. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Parking is at a premium in downtown Salem. We have an aging Museum Place garage that is nearing the end of its useful lifespan. What solutions would you work toward to address parking access in Salem?
Yes, thank you. I also don't think that adding extra garages in the downtown is the answer. I think that just adds a lot more bottleneck of cars downtown. Alternate parking outside the downtown with more alternative transportation options, I think would be helpful. The Skipper has been a great service for Salem. I've taken it many, many times. I'm excited about the idea of a South Salem rail stop. You know, when you look at where the busiest train line, our stop is the busiest on the train line, and look at how many stops there are in Beverly, and we have one, so I think that would be a really important step forward. And also, you know, accommodating alternate transportation, I'll say it, bike lanes. And also, we need to control the number of parking passes that are given, you know, based on, you know, each property's off-street available parking. I think we need more balance with that. And also, there has been, you know, some mixed feedback on the automated parking sticker program. And, you know, for the public's information, we are having a council meeting on that this Thursday at 9 at 6 p.m. if anyone would like to learn more and express their thoughts on the automated system. But yes, I think we need to start, you know, thinking out of the box. You know, Salem doesn't stand still, and we don't want to stand still either, and we need to think of transportation alternatives.
Conrad.
Thank you. Boy, if somebody ever came up with an answer for this, they'd be making a lot of money. Salem's parking problems have been, for decades, have been tossed around about some kind of way to address the parking problem and make the traffic less impacted by the parking. I know that our public transportation system would greatly help if we had a better system where people could come in and out of town on a regular basis for public transportation rather than relying on their own vehicles. And you know, the parking it's not just downtown. You know, Salem is so diverse. It's like all the neighborhoods have their own different parking needs. You know, the people at Derby Street definitely have it a lot different than the people in the North Salem area. And the downtown area is a lot different than the people in South Salem. It's not like a one fix all for the parking. I think it's up to the individual ward councilors to be able to advocate for their residents on what kind of parking works best in their area. The resident parking program, again, as Councilor Merkel says, that's something that we're going to be addressing because even though we're trying to modernize it, I think it needs to be tweaked a little bit to make it a little bit easier for people to park. So, you know, it's not like you can put a Band-Aid and be able to fix parking. It's something that we're going to have to study and hopefully come up with a solution if we need more parking garages or less parking garages. Thank you.
And back to Kyle.
Thank you. Yes, it's been said, but when I think about parking issues, I think about getting away from car dependence. That doesn't mean that I advocate for everyone to get rid of their cars, but to be able to have that be a reliable, realistic option for folks, right? I was really excited 5 months ago when I was able to sell my car. I'm living in the Point neighborhood. It's incredibly walkable. I can get to the grocery store, I can get to work, never needing a car. And we have the Salem Skipper program, which is also fantastic. We need to make that a real solution for more folks across Salem and not just in, you know, a couple neighborhoods. That means going back to our zoning and expanding where small businesses are legal. There are so many places where it's illegal to have a small grocery store, to have a coffee shop on the corner, to have, you know, the things that people rely on, and they should be able to walk to these things, and we shouldn't all have to pile in our car once a week to go down a Market Basket. That's how we're creating congestion. We need to have our streets be safe, especially for school children, so the parents can say, yeah, I do feel comfortable letting my kid walk to and from school every day, so that again, we don't have all of these cars on the road because parents feel that that's the only safe option. That's what I think about when I think of, and I also think that during the October season, one thing I have advocated for is a parking benefit district, or at least pricing. I think we could be charging a lot more for parking spots during the October season to continue to discourage tourists from driving in rather than taking transportation, or at least getting that money that we can use to fund services year-round.
The next question is a corollary, and we start with John. Salem streets are increasingly congested. How do you think the city can balance pedestrian safety while also keeping traffic moving in Salem?
But this was just talked about too. I know that there's been conversations in regards to, obviously, we all want our streets safe enough for walking. To get to the nit of it too, that there are people that have to rely on vehicles to get to and from work. But making the streets safer for everybody it's a key thing. You know, like speaking with other people in the city, other people that work for the city, the traffic lights. So if we did the no turn on red stuff, then you know you're going to create more congestion. But yet we also want to make the streets safer for people to walk. So in speaking with a couple other people, there's ways to modify our street lights and come up with, there's got to be a better solution than just a bunch of no turn on red everywhere. And safe streets, of course, like Councilor Davis just said, you know, I'd love to be able to, people to be able to say it's okay for my kids to walk to school, or, you know, anybody walking within the city. And I also think that a little bit more traffic enforcement to stop people from doing what they're doing is key also. So that there's multiple things that need to be done, but it really needs to be looked at in a very hard manner so that it's being done properly. We can't just keep putting Band-Aids on things. We got to fix it the right way.
Thank you. Alice.
Could you repeat the question, please?
Sure. Salem streets are increasingly congested. How do you think the city can balance pedestrian safety while also keeping traffic moving in Salem?
Yes, thank you. First of all, I think, which had been said earlier, focusing on mixed-use zoning that helps create more walkable communities that are less car-centric would be a step in the right direction. And I also want to say how much I appreciate the work that is being done for pedestrian safety. It's really been incredible. We have the Safe Sidewalks program, trying to improve the condition of our sidewalks. A large amount of money, $750,000, was added to that budget this year to address that. We have the Safe Streets for All action plan. They've had a public forum that had great feedback and ideas from the public. The traffic calming programs, speed humps, raised crosswalks. And all of these have really helped increase the safety for pedestrians in Salem. We're going in the right direction in that. And also, when you focus on that kind of safety, then it's going to calm the traffic with these proposals. This, like I said, the speed humps, all those initiatives, just to help calm everything on the streets so everyone can pass and have a partnership with pedestrians, bicycles, and our autos that works for Salem and works safely for everyone. Thank you.
Conrad.
Thank you. It's a great topic because I think we've all experienced from both sides, whether we're in a vehicle or walking downtown, the hazards from both ways. There's new technology out there that I think we should be advocating for. From the state, Massachusetts, for some reason, does not want to let red light cameras become effective. And I think if anybody's ever driven out of state and seen those signs that say this is a red light camera guarded intersection, people obey that to the T. Nobody, because you get a ticket in the mail automatically. We don't have the police officers to be able to man every intersection and be able to have people cross safely. I'm also a big fan of the roundabouts, which we used to call rotaries back in the day. But we have a couple in Salem, and you folks I think know about them. One of them is on Swampscott Road and Traders Way, which used to have a red light and was an ineffective red light because traffic congestion backed up on Traders Way and all the way up to Highland Avenue. They put in a rotary over there and traffic moves smoothly. Not only does the rotaries help traffic move smoothly, they also give pedestrians a place to take a break. If you take a look at the small rotary over by, 1 block away from the Witch House, that rotary at Summer and Washington Street makes it a lot easier to cross over, especially for people who are looking at historic Salem, to be able to cross the street, get to a little rotary, and come back. It avoids the red light. It helps the pedestrians. That's just one thing. There's
That's
also
90 seconds.
Hey, and I'll
You
let
can add it
could
to
go
your
on and
closing.
on, but thank you.
Yes, so again, I don't think that these two things are at odds with each other, right? The more people that are able to make the choice to walk, to bike, to take public transit, the less congestion and parking issues there are for people to continue to drive, right? We can all be on the same team here. I wholeheartedly agree with the changing of a lot of intersections to rotaries. I'd like to see a lot more of that. Not only are we able to move traffic a lot more efficiently, it's a lot safer. You don't have incidents where people are speeding up for yellow lights. You don't have people zooming down side streets, to avoid traffic lights, which a lot of neighborhoods are dealing with. I absolutely support the no red on red changes. It's not for every intersection, it's for a select few. It's a very thoughtful, long conversation, but it's been incredibly dangerous. I've seen it firsthand where people have a walk signal and cars are able to go right into them. It's very dangerous. Something had to be done about it. There's also other kind of really easy, simple fixes. I hope everyone in the room is aware of C-Click Fix. Incredibly helpful. There are so many times where I've seen a crosswalk that just hasn't been painted recently, a walk sign that's been broken for a long time. These are things that we need the help from residents to make sure that we're alerting DPS and others that can help with that problem as soon as possible.
Thank you. Ty.
Thanks. People will not travel in a way if a portion of that journey feels unsafe. And that is shown out through data and it's shown out time and time again. If people feel like a part of their route is not safe, they won't take that route. So a great example is North Salem is just as close to the Salem Common as the McIntyre district is. But folks from North Salem don't feel comfortable coming across either over that bridge or down that pathway to get over here to this side of town. And that's that one weak link in the chain that prevents pedestrians from coming over here. I have been very supportive of this current mayor and his work that he's done on improving our sidewalks so that people feel safe walking around town and that they're not feeling like they need to take a car. I think that's very, very important. But beyond like the local issues that we deal with here, tourism is, as we see outside of our window right now, is a massive cause of traffic that's impacting us from probably June through November, which is a big portion of our year. We were sitting in traffic the other day at the MBTA, and a group came off the train, and it looked like the TD Garden had just let out, and that was fantastic. And I said to Micah at the time, like, think about what this would look like if these were all cars trying to get into Salem 2x2. It would be backed up all the way to Peabody. Instead, it's all on the train, it's all coming over. So I think we need to figure out more ways to get people to not be taking their cars in, raising parking rates on tourists, not residents in downtown Salem, and giving them ways to not get in here, partnering with the MBTA, and encouraging them to keep their cars outside of the city, I think is very, very important.
Okay, question 4. And we start with Alice. The city is looking at a potential debt exclusion to fund the new Salem High School. What points would you make to your constituents for or against? And what will you do to communicate these ideas to Salem residents?
Yes, I am excited about the new high school proposal for the new building. It's a great opportunity to increase the programs in the arts, the CTE programs, and improve the teaching conditions for our educators. It's just a terrific opportunity for the city of Salem and our students. And also, the current building uses 25%. Just the Salem High School building is 25% of our energy costs for the city. That is an enormous number. So we're looking at the possibility of building a much greener, hopefully net zero building. And I'm really excited about it. The council will be voting on a bond order and also a tax override that will probably be on a citywide ballot in the spring. It's a temporary tax override of the tax limit that's allowed. And I'm hoping this passes because it is a much higher cost to have to refurbish the existing building to bring it up to code, which we will have to do. I think it's $350 million plus that we will have to do to bring the old building out of date up to code. Yet if we pass the new proposal, it's $455 million, but we will get half of that money reimbursed by the state. So this will be a win-win, and I'm really excited about it.
Thank you. Conrad.
Thank you. I went to Salem High School, which is now the middle school. And shortly after I got out of high school, they built a new high school. And here I am sitting in front of you, watching a new high school being built. I can't digest the fact that in my lifetime, I'm watching a high school get built and torn down in a high school that I never went to. A lot has to say about the construction of the first high school. It was built wrong. It was built badly. And the people that built it went belly up, and we were never able to reimburse it. That building is falling apart. Just like Councilor Merkel said, if we have to spend money to fix it, it's going to be all on us, all of it on the taxpayers. If we build a new high school, at least half of it, at least either 45 to 60% will get reimbursements from the state. So, I mean, that's common sense. Let's get a new building, which is also going to be able to adapt to the educational needs, which are changing as the decades go by. And let's make sure that this one is built so that we don't see another one torn down in our lifetime and a new one put up. Let's not waste our money on that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. I'm trying not to echo anything that's already been said, but absolutely agree with points that were made. This is a no-brainer. I think that the League of Women Voters asked, not just the at-large candidates, but every single candidate running, whether they'd support the debt override. I think all but one supported it, which shows how much of a no-brainer this is, and the plans for the high school are incredibly exciting. I would have loved to see a project labor agreement for the building of the high school. Disappointed on the vote that was taken by that. But that being said, the high school building community has done an incredible job. If you haven't seen the plans yet, we got a preliminary look, and there's a lot to be excited about. And we just, the investment in our children in our schools is just so crucial, and they can't learn in a subpar environment, which they are now. So my full support.
Ty.
Yeah, I think that the most important thing I think that a new high school gives us is a community resource. It's not just a place that our kids will maybe or maybe not. I think one of my kids will get in there. Probably one might not make it. It's not just a place that our kids go to school. It's a community resource for all of us. It's a gymnasium. It's an auditorium. It's a place where we can host events as a community. I think that's how it functions in every town, and that's how it functions in Salem. I think it's important that we have a modern facility that we do that in. The points have already been raised, but long term, you're spending $350 million that comes out of Salem taxpayers' pocketbooks to refurbish a high school. That's option one. And at the end of the day, we get the same old high school that was built wrongly when Councilor Prosnewski was just missing it. Or we can spend $455 million with 50%-ish of it being reimbursed by the state. That we get a brand new state-of-the-art high school that's oriented towards Highland Avenue that our kids deserve. I think this is, for me, this is a no-brainer of the high school.
Well, being last, pretty much everything's already been said, but I'm in full agreement with the new high school. Like Councilor Davis said, I'm a little upset that there wasn't a PLA signed. But needless to say, or neither here nor there, we need a new school. Anybody that's been in the old school knows it's in disrepair. The heating system's gone. And the systems, it needs to be brought up to code, but yet we need to get it with the times. You know, the times, the systems that are in that building now, as Councilor Merkel was saying, they're very cost effective. We need to get up with the times and bring everything up to new codes, new standards. There's a couple things that I would have liked to have seen, which would be more of the split units but needless to say, the old school is done. It's got to go. We definitely need a new school. And, you know, everybody's already brought up the cost, and it just makes sense. It does, you know, makes sense to do it now and get it done the way that it's been proposed and not have to try to fix the old school. The old school is just not repairable.
Thank you. Okay, this question we start with Conrad. What steps can the City Council take to address the growing concerns around housing affordability in Salem?
The 6 years that I've been on, affordability has always been at the top of the list as far as one of the changes that is affecting the quality of life for Salem residents and people who want to come to Salem and be Salem residents. I said it before, you know, we're a victim of our own success in Salem. People want to come here. They don't want to leave Salem. They want to come to Salem. That's driving the prices up. That's making people want to buy. That's making developers want to build large buildings here. People are coming in at a fast rate, and we're growing, and we're having a lot of growing pains doing that. One of the biggest one is the affordability factor. And even though Salem meets the state standards for affordability as compared to some of the other communities around us, I think that we can have development, especially large developments that we see coming now, the upcoming Shetland development, the development at Bertini's. People like that, developers like that should be held to a little higher standard of affordability rates, just so that the Salem people who come here, who work here, can afford to live here. Thank you.
Yes, this is absolutely the top priority, and it has to be met with a sense of urgency that matches the level of the crisis. I'm actually really proud of the work that we've all done in the past 2 years of this issue. I've been able to have the privilege of advocating for updates to the accessory dwelling unit ordinance, both at the state level and the local level, allowing more folks to more easily create those backyard cottages, tiny homes, in-law suites. That's a win-win both for creating an affordable unit and another income stream for that homeowner that might be a working class homeowner. The parking minimum mandates were a really important change. I'm really glad that we eliminated those to make sure that we have housing units, not empty parking spaces. The condo conversion ordinance is a really important tenant protection with us losing so many of our rental units to condos. But there's also so much more to do. I've been proud of my work with the Salem State Policy Lab on an initiative to do an upzoning feasibility study to create more multifamily housing across the city. Right now, multifamily housing is only legal in about 13% of Salem, which of course really hurts us in terms of building new units, building more affordable units. I'm excited about the planning department's work on single room occupancy to create lower threshold housing. I'd like to see the housing stability coordinator's position developed into a full-fledged department, and I had a lot more on the list, but I have to stop.
Ty.
So this is another issue that we deal with as a community that is a national issue, a systemic issue that falls on all communities. I think a lot of times we think locally that the housing is unaffordable in Salem. What is happening here in Salem? This is happening nationwide right now, and it's touching places that we never expected it to touch. And I think this issue comes on to us as a community. We're forced to deal with it and help who we can with the resources that we have at our disposal. I've been really proud over the last 6 years as a council. We have been determined and steadfast on some of these issues that we felt like were low-hanging fruit, but we were early in this state in adopting some things like inclusionary zoning and accessory dwelling units, removing parking minimums for multifamily, not removing the ability to build parking, but removing outdated requirements, which will unlock new housing types. I think probably the most impactful thing that we can do as a community here locally. Well, first of all, the most impactful thing we can do as a nation is to remove the Faircloth Amendment. And if you can write your congressman or senator and ask them to remove the Faircloth Amendment, that would be helpful. But locally, reforming our zoning is very, very important right now. There's neighborhoods in Salem that are illegal to build. We've done a little bit of work with removing those parking minimums to unlock new building types. But we should be able to build in ways that are affordable here in Salem. We should support small builders who are unable to build right now in this community. Thank you.
John.
As far as the affordable housing, there's a couple of things that really need to be looked at. And this is another one of those situations that needs to be looked at in a hard way because, number one, I think we should be concentrating more on more elderly housing. There's so many people on a list for elderly housing, and it's like supply and demand. There's people that live within our city that basically are getting taxed out of their homes that they've had for years. And now they're looking to go into elderly housing, which would open up market share in that sense. And as far as, I agree with some of the zoning changes, but we also have to take into consideration that there are people that bought houses and already live here, and they bought in this community because this is where they wanted to live. They didn't want a bunch of houses jammed on top of them with the ADUs and additional units and, a 50 square or a 50-foot lot that's sitting beside their house. They don't want a 2-family or a 3-family going up there because we can't. Again, we're putting Band-Aids on things. Everything that we're talking about really needs to be looked at so that it's done right. I mean, we can't just keep making these changes without knowing or listening to our constituents as to what they might, what they think about it. I agree with some of the development that's going on, but some of it's just not fair to people that already live within our city and pay taxes.
Alice.
Yes, thank you. In my volunteer work, I work regularly with people that are housing insecure. It's heartbreaking. I agree with some of the counselors and what they've talked about in implementing our housing production plan. They've mentioned many important points that we've worked on that I'm proud of: eliminating parking minimums, increasing ADUs, the condo conversion. And I agree with addressing the out-of-date zoning that exists. That has always been a barrier to creating housing. And also, we critically need very affordable housing, but we also need housing production to stabilize every price point in the market. You know, people are couch surfing, they're living with relatives, and as was said, there's an increase in elderly and women becoming unhoused. You know, there were 179 Salem public school kids that are homeless, and that number is expected to be over 300 by the end of the school year. And there's a steady stream of people reaching out to our housing stability coordinator. And those people reaching out could be any of us. So I think it's also important to remember that development happens slowly. Some of the projects that we're seeing happen have been talked about for years. It doesn't all happen at once, yet we have an urgent situation and crisis to address.
Thank you. Okay, we start this question with Kyle. Oh, did you? Yeah, back up this way. Salem passed an ordinance in April of 2024 that prohibits camping on public property if shelter beds are available within 15 miles of the city, with some recent amendments being made this year. What are your views about this ordinance, and is there anything you would have added or changed?
So I was the only vote against this ordinance's passage because fundamentally I believe that housing, the homelessness issue is a problem of lack of housing, not an issue of a lack of criminality, criminalization. I do not agree fundamentally with the idea that people need to be arrested or fined for the crime of being homeless. And that is any way going to help us out of this situation. A lot of the ideas that we already talked about tonight are ideas that would address the homelessness issue. Something like SROs, single room occupancy. What a lot of folks don't know about the unhoused populations, that about 50% actually have employment, have some form of income, and could afford to pay some money for housing. They couldn't afford a standard, one-bedroom apartment in Salem. But something that's very low threshold would really help folks. But I absolutely could not get on board with something that, in my view, criminalized unhoused people.
Ty.
The folks who live in the Point neighborhood had a playground, and that playground was turned into a biological hazard. And the people who live in that neighborhood, their kids have the right to play in that neighborhood. We have a right to our public spaces as a community. We also have an obligation to the people who live here locally, and that includes our homeless community, our unhoused community. What this ordinance did was it put the onus on the city of Salem to provide the shelter. So it's not criminalizing homelessness for the sake of criminalizing it, saying you're not allowed to sleep outside. It's saying that if there is shelter available, which we're going to ensure is available, and storage available, you can't sleep in a public space. You can't use it the way that park was used. Anyone who walked that knew that it was a hazard that we wouldn't let kids within 10 feet of. It was a horrible way to live for the people who were living there, and it was horrible for that neighborhood. It is a national issue. It's something we're experiencing locally here, and it's another one of those situations where we as a community have to put Band-Aids on these problems and make uncomfortable choices sometimes. I don't think any of us took that decision lightly, but I think it was a decision that was made earnestly, and it was made with the best interests of everyone in this community, including the unhoused, forcing us to create that shelter space for them. And Councilor Davis is right on one thing here, that is the single room occupancy is a path out. Single room occupancy is currently illegal in the city of Salem. The difference for an unhoused person between having a door that locks and having to sleep outside is enormous for their mental health, for their physical well-being. Thank you.
This is a topic that, as far as the camping ordinance goes, I agreed with that ordinance 100% because it wasn't safe for the homeless. And it also wasn't safe for the residents. I mean, I heard a lot of residents complaining they couldn't walk down the street without, having to walk into a person using the outdoors to go to the restroom. It just wasn't safe all around. But homelessness needs to be looked at from the core issue, okay? I think that the core issues have to be addressed, whether it's the drug addiction or whether it's the mental health issues. You're never gonna stop or cure the problem or fix the problem until you get to the root cause. Again, It's another thing that, like Councilor Hapworth was just saying, we keep putting Band-Aids on this, trying to make it better and better. But until we get to the root cause of the homelessness, it's not going to be fixable. And just adding units for people to stay, I refer this to the field of dreams, okay? If you build it, they will come. The city of Salem is attracting more and more people to come into the city of Salem and be homeless here instead of other communities because of the panhandling. They make money, and again, we have to hit the core issue, which is the drug addiction and the mental health issues.
Thank you. Alice.
Yes, thank you. This is a very tragic situation, the homelessness crisis, and people are unsafe living outside. This was a tough vote and decision to make when we put this in place. Federal laws had changed, allowing municipalities to remove people, and we put an order in place with protocols that there has to be safe shelter space available and storage. And I want to point out the work that was done by the Community Impact Unit. They didn't take days, but weeks to assist people that were living in an encampment, meeting them where they are, building trust, and finding options for assistance for them. And I appreciated the work that was done. And we do need to support the work that the city is already doing, and we need to have the political will to do more, especially in creating low-threshold housing, because you can't talk about homelessness without talking about homes. There's a lot we need to address with a sense of urgency here. Thank you.
Conrad.
Thank you, David. I applaud the city councilors who voted for the camping ordinance, and I applaud the mayor for bringing it forward to the city council to do this, because we were watching those people who have mental health issues living in unsafe, unsanitary, and dangerous conditions, and we were watching them get sick and die. And that is not what we do as human beings. We got these people to move out of the encampment that was over by the South River. We provided them with a place to stay. And then things get a little bit muddled, because what do we do now? Where are they supposed to go now? Somewhere around 1980, the state hospitals closed. And if you folks remember, probably before that, our homeless situation was not nearly what it is now. Now there is no place to be able to bring people who are mentally ill to be able to get the proper treatment, because those hospitals used to facilitate those types of issues. So we have to advocate, and Salem again has taken the forefront in addressing this problem with a lot of the other surrounding communities not doing their fair share of addressing the homelessness issue. So I think that every community, the Massachusetts government should have every community have some kind of program in effect that has some kind of a conduit in their community to address their homeless situation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And we're back to Ty. The lack of available open public restrooms after 5 p.m. is negatively affecting the downtown experience for visitors and locals alike. What steps would you like the city to take, and how would you, as a city councilor, address the situation?
Well, I think that, a great example of what we've done here locally is what you saw in the news today, which is that we had the federal government shut down, and we lost access to our visitor center restrooms temporarily downtown. And one thing that I've always said around just our work with the federal government, or lack of work with the federal government, is that locally we are creative and we figure out ways to get things done. So I was very proud of the work that the city did, working with local organizations to reopen that visitor center, to work with Essex Heritage, to work with the PB Essex Museum, Salem Main Streets. I'm sure I'm missing some organizations in there. I don't know if the chamber played a role, but possibly. But I think that keeping those restrooms open is very, very important for the city. Requiring new developments, specifically hotels, when they go up to provide public restrooms, has been something that's been important to us, and I think maybe making that more known to our visitors and to our residents, that there are places like the Waterfront Hotel that does provide public restrooms for folks. The Destination Salem office, the new office there, provides restrooms as well. it's not easy, but we have to find ways to take care of our visitors when they come in here to Salem.
John?
I mean, this is an issue. I agree, I'm happy to see that the public restrooms down at the Maritime Building are open. But nothing's more frustrating than you go into a gas station. I mean, I can remember growing up, you go to the gas station, you're traveling and use a restroom. Well, all the local gas stations and some of the local businesses, patrons only, or, I've gone to a couple of gas stations, even up on North Street, and they have a sign right on the door that says no public restrooms. Well, I think it should be required for those types of businesses to have restrooms available for people, but you also got to keep in mind too that it can be cost effective for them, but I just don't understand why, if somebody's asking to use the restroom and you know that they're out and about spending money within our city and you're going to refuse them, I disagree. I think that there should be something put in place, that an ordinance or something that requires them to have public restrooms for the public.
Alice?
Yes, thank you. As the council liaison to Destination Salem, I'm involved in a lot of discussions around restrooms and the importance of having them, and yes, how challenging that subject is. We recently had a meeting regarding the restrooms on Artist Row, and in the other discussions of the new restrooms for the Destination Salem Visitors Center. What's really important is to have attendance in the bathrooms. What happened on Artist Row, within a month, there was, because of the configurations of them and other reasons, there was thousands of dollars in vandalism. The entities down on Artist Row have really stressed that anytime there is an attendant there, things go very smoothly. So I think that's a really important point to remember. And so they are going to be, there are going to be attendants there on weekends. And as the other councilors mentioned, it was great news today that the visitor center is going to be reopened. And also, the porta potties have been successful. I just happened to be walking by tourists using them who were commenting, they're actually clean, they're okay to use. I randomly heard that as I was walking behind City Hall. So I think we have them during October, but I think we really have to look at the funding for having those for Salem So Sweet and the Arts Festival and the other activities and events that happen in Salem that draw large crowds.
Thank you. Conrad?
Thank you. Working downtown in October as a police officer for many years, the number one question from tourists isn't where a certain site is, it's where is there a restroom? So we were all briefed on where the areas of the porta potties were going to be, what buildings have public restrooms, whether it's the Old Town Hall, whether it's the Visitor Center. Salem spends a lot of money on porta potties in October. And every year it gets larger and larger. I don't have an answer. I know that Salem advocates the businesses to be able to open their doors for people who need to use restrooms, but there's no easy answer. We have to spend a lot of money on porta potties in October because we just don't have the facilities. We did build a new facility at the corner of Congress and Derby Street, which has public bathrooms. But again, that's just a small piece of it. We have to put up with it. We have to get the porta potties. They're very expensive, but that's what Salem has become. And in order to be able to address all the needs of all the visitors that we have to spend the money. So, thank you.
Yes, I would like to see more city-run public restrooms. Working in a restaurant, I do see the friction that does happen constantly when we have tour guides going by that offer up restaurants and other establishments as a place where folks can go to the restroom. And I see the other side of that where sometimes we're at a legally enforced capacity. We have a line around the corner and folks flooding in to try to use the restroom is just a logistical nightmare. And as Councilor Harvey was saying, patrons only for a restroom does create a really problematic problem, including for our unhoused community, right? And whether it's them or tourists, people have to go. And I've had conversations with residents about staircases and public parking garages that have a certain smell. And I would really love to see places like the Witch City Mall and other kind of public city-run restrooms created, and lots of signage as well to direct people to those restrooms, not just for the folks that need to use them, but also for our health department, DPS, and other departments that this has become a constant problem for.
Thank you. Okay, we start with John for this question. Now that Salem has a new climate resiliency overlay district, what specifically would you work on to improve climate resiliency and sustainability? And please provide one idea of each. Sure. Now that Salem has a new climate resiliency overlay district, what specifically would you work on to improve resiliency and sustainability? Please provide one example of each.
I mean, the climate change to me, that's just, it's like, we all have to do our part. But the resiliency, or like, I was getting back, like the mini splits and stuff like that, and car chargers. I mean, I'd like to see more public car chargers installed within the city to lessen the emissions, or, for people with electric vehicles and stuff like that. And as far as, I mean, I hate to say it, but tax breaks for people that actually remodel their houses and go from fossil fuel to the electricity like everybody's, been pushing for a few years.
Alice.
Thank you, and especially with the federal cuts to green energy that we're seeing for coastal resiliency initiatives, that's been devastating as well. I think it's important that we work on a larger scale addressing climate and coastal resiliency. We need to work with the state. These are going to take large projects and an enormous effort to address these. I led an effort to address the flooding that consistently occurs in the Commercial Street area. I worked with the Ward 6 councilor and our state rep and state senator and the city with Mass DOT. And it did result in a lengthy, extensive study of the area by Mass DOT. I'm looking forward to that work continuing. I think this is what we need to focus on. And it's another issue that we need to focus on with a sense of urgency. I also appreciate, what we've done for sustainability as well. We've had the municipal green building ordinance, adopted the specialized code, and as was mentioned, everything from expanding EV chargers to solar projects. I think we have to come at it from all fronts. This is a crisis, and we have to move.
Conrad.
Thank you. In Salem, there's been a lot of talk about how climate change has affected residences, especially those living in the coastal areas of the Willows and Palmer's Cove Park area over at Commercial Street. I know that we're not climate experts. We have to rely on them to help us out in figuring what is going to be affected the worst and how we can best approach those. We're hoping that the federal government and the state government also help us out monetarily wise to try to help the residents keep their houses and not live in dangerous areas. We're hoping that development in Salem also addresses climate change and resiliency in the way that they build their buildings, whether it's the efficiency factors or building with garages underneath so that they don't have flooding problems like they did in the new building down there, the new Lee Ford Terrace building. This is something that's changing, and we have to adapt. We have to adapt, and we have to count on the experts to be able to give us some guidance on where we're going and the best way to spend our money to try to help our residents go through this. Thank you.
Thank you. Kyle.
Thank you. Yeah, so I thought that the coastal resiliency overlay district ordinance was a really kind of thoughtful balance between our housing crisis and our climate crisis. Yes, there are areas that we need to continue to be able to create housing in, even if they are, in a dangerous spot 20, 50 years from now. But it set that up in a way that we can do that in a really responsible, sustainable, and resilient way. It's hard to pinpoint just kind of one example, but I'm really proud to be working with Councilor Merkel on a gas leaf blower ordinance. It seems like something that's small, but it's been amazing diving into it, how much carbon emission comes from these machines. They're incredibly noisy, incredibly dangerous for those operating them, including especially landscapers. Adopting the specialized code, which is the highest possible energy efficiency code that we could have adopted as a municipality for new buildings. That was really crucial. And I really commend the city as well as the sustainability director and department for being able to get great state grants and working with local organizations like the Salem Sound Coast Watch on a number of really important resiliency projects, whether that's Collins Cove in the Point area. I've been a part of ongoing discussions about the Willows neighborhood, and those are going to be really crucial conversations.
Thank you. Ty.
First, I want to thank Councilor Cohen for obviously submitting this question here, probably. This has Jeff written all over it. I think the first thing that we can do here locally is, and well, at least that I commit to do, is to steadfastly support the Crowley project. I think that Salem is positioned to be a leader in America's clean energy future. What the federal government's doing right now is, in my opinion, illegal, and I think that we should fight that and continue to fight that, or to wait this administration out, because I think this is a key part of Salem's future, not just for our clean energy future, but for our tax base. This is going to be an important project for us, and I commit to continue to support that. Another thing that maybe a lot of things have been mentioned here tonight, but I think another thing that bears mentioning is that we should be using permeable and recyclable materials in our sidewalks, and we have done that in the past. Other communities like New Orleans that are at risk have done that. It reduces runoff. It allows water to get to the roots of our street trees. I think these things are important. Doesn't always have to be brick, but it can be brick in some cases. In a lot of our city parks we've created permeable spaces like the Willows or over at Forest River. I think these are important to continue to do as we deal with this. And then also it just bears mentioning the climate, the parking, removing the parking requirements for our multifamily houses. About 40% of parking is unused. It's just asphalt that sits out and creates a heat island. That's my time.
Thank you. Okay, our last question. This will also serve as closing remarks. And we start with Alice. Every candidate here for council at large has already served as a city council member previously. What are the most significant achievements you have made during the last 2 years as a councilor?
Yes, and I want to thank everyone again for being here tonight, and thank our hosts. And thank my colleagues. I'm so fortunate to work with these incredible colleagues for the last 2 years. I feel my most important achievement has been being responsive to our residents. Whether it's casual conversations on the sidewalk or emails, I've been accessible to our residents, and that's been a priority for me, so I'm proud of that. In addition to that, I've worked collaboratively and respectfully with my colleagues, and that's why we've gotten the work done. So I'm proud of that as well. And I guess the last item I'd express is my support for our LGBTQ+ community. Through the guidance of my friends and NAGLI and I think Hanging Over the Rainbow, I was able to have the honor to work on and present a resolution that protects our transgender community members. And also I initiated with the mayor the idea of having an LGBTQ+ its own section on our city website of resources. So that now exists. So yes, it's been a great 2 years serving on the council. And please reach out to me with any questions. For more information, please check out my website at electalicemerkel.com. And I hope to get the honor of continue serving you on November 4th. Thank you.
Conrad.
Thank you. My arms are short. I can't reach to pat myself on the back. And that's not my intention, and that wasn't my intention on getting this job, you know. I ran for city council because I was a police officer for 40 years. And why did I become a police officer? Because I wanted to help people. And I think that I did that pretty effectively as best as I could while I had a career in police work. I continued that into the city council thinking that I could continue my work for helping people. And I can tell you it's been a lot more challenging trying to do that from a political standpoint than it was from the police department. The achievement is being able to speak to the people, listening to what they need to make their life better, their life easier. Everybody has issues that they want solved to make them living in Salem a better place to live. And it's listening to the little things, because the little things, they may be little to me, but they're not little to the people that I'm listening to. And it's easy to fix the little things a lot of times, which makes a big deal to the people who have these little things. And so I think my achievement is my self-satisfaction of still being able to help people address those issues through all the connections and, you know, what I've been doing over the years and keeping on studying that course. So thank you for that.
Thank you. I'm proud to have been a really active city councilor and to be able to make progress on the issues that I talked about and that got me elected when I first ran. You know, I mentioned the gas leaf blower ordinance. I also brought in a home rule petition also with Councilor Merkel having to do with escarts, rodenticides, a poison for rodents that has tragically killed so many beautiful animals that consume rodents, including even household pets. Not only is that so tragic, but it's taken us backwards in terms of our rodent control efforts, because those animals consume thousands of rodents a year. I was able to bring in a home rule petition having to do with brokers' fees. We were finding it much more common for folks to have to pay first, last security and a broker's fee just to move into a place. You know, oftentimes 4 months rent felt like a really unfair practice for folks that didn't hire that broker and probably didn't even interact with them at all. In all of these instances, I was not just proud of the work and the you know, pieces of, you know, ordinances, home rule petitions, whatever they were themselves, but also the process, working with various departments, working with the community. Some of these things had petitions that garnered thousands of signatures. We were able to pack council meetings with people that cared about these things and really bring up a community participation. So really, I'm proud of that work and hope to continue.
Thank you. Ty.
I think when you look on, when you turn on cable news or you look on Facebook, it looks like nothing is working nationally, and it can feel very, very frustrating. When I came on the council 6 years ago, the most important thing to me was to show that Salem could be a community that gets things done, doesn't just talk about them. And I have been very, very proud of not just the work that we've done and the things that we've accomplished, but how we've accomplished it. You know, we have, I think one of the most important achievements that this council has had that is frequently not talked about is bonding for our signature parks. So it was $16 million when our credit rating was high and the bond rate was low. It was almost a once in a generation opportunity to bond to take care of the Common, the Winter Island, the Willows, Forest River, and we had to reach across not party lines, but there was potentially a 7-4 vote that was about to happen there, and I feel proud that we as a council flipped that vote and were able to work together as a council to do it. I think a lot of things we did around inclusionary zoning, accessory dwelling units, these policies that made us a leader in Massachusetts happened through persistence. Things like the Wetlands Protection Ordinance that Councilor Marcillo brought forward, that happened through years of persistence. I think these things are the things that I most feel proud about, to show the people of Salem that we as a council can get things done, because we have to as a local government when it's not happening at the federal level.
Thank you. John.
First, I'd like to say, again, thank you to everybody for coming. Me personally, I really don't feel that I'm here to achieve anything. I like working with everybody on the council. I think we work very well together. But I can honestly say it's still a learning experience for me. I learn something different. I learn something new constantly. And I'm a big advocate for the Council of Aging. I've been their liaison for 2 years now. Again, to me, it's still a learning experience, and I encourage people to voice your opinion. Call me, get in touch with me, let me know what your thoughts are, because to be honest with you, when I walk into council chambers, I leave my opinion at the door, because that's not what I'm there for. As a city councilor, I'm there to be the voice for the residents of the city. I mean, I might not agree with everything that people call me about, but yet that's my job. So if I have 51 people that say they want it one way and 49 people that say they want it a different way, it's gonna go the way the 51 people, even if I was one of those 49. My opinion stays at the door. When I go into council chambers, I'm open-minded, and I'm there to represent the citizens and the taxpayers of the city of Salem. Thank you.
Okay, now you can applaud.
Thank you so much for everybody for coming out this evening. I definitely want to give a congratulations and thank you to our candidates for coming out tonight. Thank you again all for joining us. We're also extremely grateful for Dave Olson coming back and moderating again this evening. Thank you, Dave. And I also wanted to say thank you to our partners in organizing again this evening, the League of Women Voters Salem, Fredberry Institute of Politics at Salem State University, and the Latino Leadership Coalition, and of course, the Salem Chamber of Commerce. And lastly, of course, it does need to be repeated. Thank you again to the Hawthorne Hotel for hosting us tonight. This is a civic institution here in Salem, and we're incredibly grateful to continue that here in the Hawthorne Ballroom tonight. And I just wanted to remind everyone, Election Tuesday is Tuesday, November 4th, and I do hope that all of you will vote that day. And with that, I thank you all again, and have a great evening, everyone. Thanks so much.